Show on FM News Talk 97.1, 98.7, AM 1490, and 97.1talk.com.
Claire McCaskill talks a good game on gun rights.
I'm a Second Amendment advocate. I was raised in a hunting culture in rural Missouri.
But McCaskill voted to put anti-gun justices on the Supreme Court. Not once. Claire McCaskill talks a good game on gun rights.
I'm a Second Amendment advocate. I was raised in a hunting culture in rural Missouri.
But McCaskill voted to put anti-gun justices on the Supreme Court. Not once, but twice. Now Claire McCaskill has another chance, and your freedom is on the line. Tell Senator McCaskill, don't let us down again. Vote to confirm Judge Neil Gorsuch. The Missouri Men and Women of the National Rifle Association are responsible for the content of this advertising.
Have you seen that ad yet? As you just heard, the NRA's got that running all over the place. I've seen it online ads and the like, trying to let people, the constituents, if you live in Missouri, of Claire McCaskill, phone her office and tell her she's got a big election coming up and we're watching what she does on this case. We're joined right now by Catherine Mortensen from the NRA and the legislative branch of the NRA. How are you, Catherine?
Terrific, Mark. Thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. So that's a well-done ad, and it refers, I'm assuming, to the other two liberal justices that Claire McCaskill has supported in the past.
Absolutely. Her voting record includes she supported Justice Sotomayor and Justice Elena Kagan for the Supreme Court. And those are justices that do not stand with the Second Amendment. So we need to bring balance to that Supreme Court. And when we lost Antonin Scalia, we lost that critical voice on the Supreme Court that recognized that the right to own a firearm is an individual right. It's not one shared with a militia or an organized military group, but it is an individual right. And that's what we need to ensure is protected on the Supreme Court.
And it's important, particularly right now, given the fact that there have been some lower court decisions regarding Heller that are no doubt going to be appealed to the court, and we need to get that ninth position filled with somebody like Gorsuch so that we don't end up with a 4-4 tie.
That's exactly right. And make no mistake about it, our rights are on the line. This Supreme Court needs to be brought back into a place where we have a recognized right to have a firearm as an individual. We need Gorsuch on the Supreme Court, and we need Claire McCaskill to support his nomination.
Yeah, I've heard her kind of waffling on that so far. Has she stated yet that you're aware of that she's not going to vote for him?
We haven't heard one way or the other from her, but we did just hear today that another one of the vulnerable Democrats in the Senate, Heitkamp of North Dakota, we are targeting her with a similar ad in her state. And she just announced today that she will support the Gorsuch nomination. And the reason she's saying that is because she knows the voters in her state support the Second Amendment. And when they voted in November for Donald Trump, they were affirming that. They were letting the country know that North Dakota supports the Second Amendment because Donald Trump ran on a pro-Second Amendment agenda. They were rejecting Hillary Clinton's anti-gun agenda. And the voters in Missouri, they did the same thing. Donald Trump won in Missouri. He got 56% of the vote there. And those are Claire McCaskill's people. So she needs to be reminded that the people of Missouri supported Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton. And there was a Senate seat. Senator Blunt was reelected to the Senate, and he was on a pro-Second Amendment agenda as well.
Yeah, for people who missed it yesterday, I know at least Politico, I don't know who else reported it, that some audio had been picked up of Claire McCaskill sort of at a behind-the-scenes meeting where she discussed her concern over the Gorsuch vote and then her continued concern that, if Ruth Bader Ginsburg or Justice Kennedy or Justice Breyer were unable to continue serving for some reason, then they've got a whole nother mess on their hands. I love that you brought up the Elena Kagan vote. I heard Senator Lindsey Graham, who I tend to have a love-hate relationship with, mentioning the fact that he held his nose and voted for both of those candidates. With Sotomayor, I could see you. I was thinking to myself, I can see you looking at her record and say, well, she has been a judge, and she does have this experience. Kagan was a political operative. If the Republicans voted to put Kagan on the court, Neil Gorsuch looks like he stands on a magic pedestal next to her in terms of his judicial standing. I guess is what I'm trying to say there.
Absolutely. Right. Judge Gorsuch is an outstanding nominee, and we here at the NRA are very confident that he will protect our fundamental right to keep and bear arms.
What can people do through? I know the NRA ILA has its own site. What can people do to get on there and show their support for your position on this, or just reach out to Claire McCaskill, call her, email her? What are you looking for?
All of the above. They absolutely can call the Senate switchboard back in Washington, D.C., and get a hold of her that way. They can go on our website, which is nraila.org, and there's a direct like a landing page that pops up on their screen. Especially for people in Missouri, we are targeting everyone in Missouri. We want to reach out to them in particular and say, contact Senator McCaskill. We'll make it easy for you. If you go to NRA ILA, it will pop up on your screen on how you can get a hold of McCaskill. Her office needs to hear from you. Absolutely. Yeah. And tweet. I mean, if you're on Twitter, NRA ILA has a new app that we're promoting on people's smartphones. In fact, I just downloaded it yesterday. It's so new. It is a fantastic tool for citizen engagement. If you go to NRA ILA, you search that up on your app store on your smartphone. Terrific app. I was able to tweet both my senators in Virginia yesterday with just like one click on my smartphone.
Nice.
Yeah. That
makes it easier. Catherine Mortensen with the NRA ILA, I appreciate your time, and hopefully people will get on there and let Claire know what they think.
Thank you, Mark.
Yep, you have a great day. I appreciate your time today. I do. Listen to this. So on a behind closed doors, this is what your Senator Claire McCaskill had to say, as reported by Politico. I am very comfortable voting against Gorsuch. And I should just end it there, but her sentence continued, but I'm very uncomfortable being part of a strategy that's going to open up the Supreme Court for a complete change. And what she's referring to is she's not on board with filibustering Gorsuch. She's happy to vote against him, but she knows the Republicans will go nuclear, and then they won't need 60 votes anymore for the next Supreme Court pick. So she's politically savvy enough to realize what might happen here. So let her know that you want her to vote for him. We need 9 Democrats, I think, to vote, 8 or 9 to get on board and vote so that they don't have to use that nuclear option. I think Claire will see the light here at some point. I could be wrong. Hey, George, thanks for holding on. You're on the air.
Hey, to your last point, I hope Missourians are politically savvy enough to vote her fat ass out of the Senate in the next election, because, you know what, this back and forth stuff doesn't even make sense for this state. This is a solid conservative state, and to have her represent anybody here is absolutely insane.
My guess is that she's going to be in a little bit of trouble in 2018, but I could be wrong.
I hope she's in a lot of trouble, Mark. Listen, the reason I called was this thing with Trump and the Russia deal and all of that. I think when this thing is opened up fully, as it's going to be, most likely, it's going to lead right to the doorstep of former CIA Director John Brennan and Barack Obama. And I think that's why they're sitting on this and trying to get all of this smoke around it. And this thing with Flynn, obviously, is a no big deal because, you know what, he's probably got a story to